What is going on, crew? Welcome back to the Boardroom podcast, where we help you stay calm, change lives, and have business on your terms. Today, we're going to be diving into what's working in this day and age when it comes to acquisition, like when it comes to acquiring clients online, specifically for a high ticket coaching or consulting business. Now, the reason why this discussion came up is because I was on a podcast with a friend, 𝐇𝐞𝐫𝐞𝐬, and we were talking. One of the questions he asked me was about what's working in this day and age, and where do we see the high ticket, the info space going, right? And so for me, my take was, if you suck, you're gonna get squeezed out, right? And if you are not utilizing AI to make it easier for the people who are purchasing your services, purchasing your products, your courses, your masterminds, joining your community, if you're not using AI to shorten time to value, you're going to get squeezed. All right. And the next few years are going to suck for you. So when it comes to marketing and it comes to like getting clients, principle has not changed, right? You need to know who you're targeting, who your ICP is. You need to know the problems, their pains, the desires, the results that they want. And then you need to just be able to communicate that to them and have a product or service to actually deliver the results that they're willing to pay for. Tactically, how you go about doing it tactfully, though, has changed quite a bit, right? Before, you could get away with doing a bunch of targeting. Like 80% of effort would be on targeting if we're running paid ads, even like a year or two ago. And then 20% of the effort would be on creative and messaging. Now it's like 80% of the effort is on creative and messaging, and then 20% is on targeting, right? Does that align with kind of what you're seeing from an acquisition standpoint?
Yeah, if we want to just talk specifically about the ads here, yes, the creatives and the messaging is what's going to drive everything. I'm in a bunch of accounts throughout the day, and it doesn't matter if you layer targeting. It doesn't matter if, well, let me take that back. It does matter in terms of ad accounts. So ad accounts work differently. But what I'm saying is it doesn't require a lot of work in terms of how you set up targeting. There's technically two driving factors here. One is the creatives. You got to be very creative heavy. You got to be testing on a weekly basis in your account. There's that one because when you have a bunch of creatives to work with, you could increase spend, and you're not going to get this tug of war with Facebook where every time if you go push more, they give you a shitload of just terrible results, right? And then everything goes up, et cetera, right? So if you have more creatives, it lets you spend a lot more, right? So there's the creative side, and then there's the pixel data. Those are the two main, whatever you pushing back to Facebook will determine how good of a lead you're going to get and how much more you could spend and how much and how you can get in front of these leads. Those are the two main things. The targeting, yes, you can, I'm going to give you three different types of targeting. There's open, where there's no targeting. You just have some age and gender or whatever, right?
There's that type of targeting. Advantage plus.
Advantage plus, whatever, right? Then there's interest targeting, right? You throw some interest in there. And then there's lookalike targeting, right? I'm talking from a cold top of funnel type thing, right? Those are the three main things you can do in an ad account, right? Some ad accounts work great with lookalikes. Some ad accounts work great with open. Some ad accounts work great with interest. For example, ours, specifically for Charlie, open sucks. Okay. It is just dog crap. I don't even want to do it anymore. I don't even bother. Interest and lookalike, though, do extremely well on the ad account. I have another ad account. It has nothing to do with Charlie. Open does great. It just depends on the ad account. For me, as of right now, it depends more ad account. But the two driving forces that pushes everything for any ad account is creatives, messaging, and the data that you give back to Facebook.
Yep. So, and that's something I forgot to mention in the podcast that I was on yesterday, is like the importance of how good the pixel data is actually gone up. right? Pixel data has gone up in its impact in the overall quality of leads, unlike we've seen before. In the past, pixel data was really, really important, but it wasn't as important as the targeting initially, right? The pixel data just kind of reinforced the targeting, but on a smaller scale. Now that the algorithms and the AI powering the algorithms have gotten really good, they heavily depend on the quality of data that's feeding the machine, right? So if your pixel data is garbage, you're going to get more of the data that you're feeding the machine. So that's why like the messaging and the creatives is really, really important, because that's going to determine who the AI starts to feed your ads to initially. And then the pixel data that is getting back for your conversion event reinforces that, right? It informs what it's going to be doing from a placement and impression standpoint. So if your messaging and your creative isn't really targeting or attracting the people that you want, then you're going to be getting leads coming in. The quality of the leads are going to go down. The quality of the data you're going to get is going to go down. And it's just going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. And then on another thing, yes, the creative and the messaging doesn't have to necessarily be in the ad copy itself. The messaging could literally just be on the landing page that you're sending people to and pushing through. Because we have an ad account. It's just one line of a copy. It's just one line. It is basically a one-line opt-in headline. It's just that right in the copy, but the creative is a video, talks about all that. So you have to test those things, because what we found out with him and that brand is his CPMs dropped dramatically. His CTR went up because we got rid of the story-based copy, the longer type copy. And so yes, you have to play around with it a little bit more in the ad account. Is it easier to set up ads? Yeah, you can literally just do open and put a creative up and you're kind of like done, right? But if you really want good stuff back, those were the things where you needed, I guess there's skill now involved in that aspect of the stuff.
Yeah,
right?
having the funnel set up properly and having the segmentations done properly, and then having like the friction, right? Who are you letting through? How are you asking questions and filtering who gets what? And then using like credit tools to check the quality of the leads, especially for like the B2C market. The credit tools aren't as important for B2B markets. Like it's not important for B2B whatsoever. Like
No, it's not
at all.
That's why it's not Noti's account.
So, but for the B2C market is really important. So now you have the ability to not only focus your creatives on your messaging, but then you're also validating if the messaging is attracting the people that you want. And even if it's not necessarily attracting the people that you want because Facebook isn't putting it in front of the right people, if you have the filter mechanism in place to segment who's qualified and who's not, and then you start getting the qualified leads that have been validated, feeding the pixel data, is going to start forcing the AI to start finding more people like the qualified people that are seeing your ads, right? And so it requires skills to have the system and the machine and have the infrastructure around your campaigns really dialed in. Whereas like earlier on, you needed technical skill to do set up the campaign in the ad account, to do the targeting, the ad sets, set up like the budgets and your ads and things like that. Now the technical skill comes what's happening after they click, right? You need the creative, you need good skills in putting up creatives. But with AI, like getting good creatives in place is become so much easier. Like it is hilarious how easy it is to spin up really good creative, to the point where that's becoming commoditized, right? The real skill is, do you know how to set up the machine in such a way where, one, the leads that are coming in are properly getting filtered, right? And you're setting up your tracking in a way where your pixels only being triggered by the most qualified leads, And then you have your conversion API events, so where you're setting up custom conversions based on these very clear parameters that you've set for the qualified leads.
Exactly. And yeah, because you could put like a credit check or a very extremely hard application, or maybe you pay for a call, or those are the three things that you can make things, and then your messaging on who you attract and everything like that, right? But here's where the skill comes involved, right? So you can send the skill, you go add, and you go send to an app VSL page, right? If the messaging is broad, it's not very specific, and you put like a credit check, hey, I'm getting credit checks, I'm getting good people, right? But then because the messaging wasn't on point, then that could lead to, even though you pushed the good data of a good qualified financial aspect back to Facebook, well then, because the messaging was on point, you have a high no-show rate, they're not bought in, they don't put off the credit card.
There's not intent. Those leads are coming in, they're qualified, but they have no intent because there's
Exactly.
no clear value proposition. So the
Mhm.
messaging, the purpose of really good messaging is to get high intent leads coming into your pipeline, right? And then nurturing on the back end, right, is to build the 3 levels of trust in your expertise, trust in your brand, trust in your methodology, right? But if you're spending money on ads, unless you're going top of funnel, just awareness, right? Like you have a broad market offer and you just don't care about the intent. You just care about relevance, right? You think Coca-Cola, think Disney, think like all the Nike, all these brands that are just like, they're willing to spend millions on a Super Bowl ad because what they care about is relevance. They care about top of mind because they know how to attribute the relevance to sales, right?
Exactly. And what's one cool thing too is if we're talking about ad platforms, people would spend money on ads like on YouTube, for example, because it was very high intent, people looking specifically for a solution to the problem. Well, you could technically do that on Facebook,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Facebook,
Because
you can do that now because of the AI and how good it's gotten. Like if you can make your messaging super specific to the problem, they're going to serve it up to people who are consuming content and searching for things around the problem that you're solving,
exactly.
right?
So you can get in front of like that 7-10% and find those people. So let's just say, hey, I just want people that have a really big pain. I got the solution. I don't really care about so much nurturing and maybe setting up a 5-day challenge. Dude, just give me in front of people that want to buy my shit and let's just buy it right now. I got the solution, but the messaging and everything needs to target that, right? So, and people say, oh, that's only like 5-10%. Yeah, 5-10% of how many people? You can make a shitload of money off those 5 to 10% of people, right? So, but everything has to be in line because there's a lot of people out there that, hey, get me in front of these people, but their messaging, their marketing doesn't scream that at all. That's why they have the high costs. That's why they have the high no-show rate. That's why they have XYZ. That's why their brand doesn't really scream that, right? So that's why you see a lot of people with a lot of like, give me a free guide, give me this, give me that, and watch my Instagram and my stories. Yeah, that's the long game, right? Cool. If you want to do that, you can make a great amount of money, but you got to
Yeah, and if
be
they're willing to kind of delay monetization, right? And the only reason why I look at it is like you're delaying monetization is either you've got like a bigger play that you're working on, or um if like you're lower skill, which is kind of funny because like it's like the two extremes where if you got a bigger play that you're working on, those are like the Hermoses and, people like that who are, or Gary V, who are like just focused on long play, legacy, building reputation, all those things. They got a bigger plan at play. And then if you're low skill getting into the game, right? You had imposter syndrome. It's funny because we talked about this yesterday on the podcast. They're like, well, one of his questions was like, what do you say for people who are struggling with imposter syndrome? I'm like, I do not understand this. I have never had imposter syndrome in my life. Like I do not understand what people are talking about when they say they're struggling with imposter syndrome, right? Because I'm like, if you have imposter syndrome, it means you're charging for something you don't really believe is that good, right? You're not who you say you are, right? You have low skill. You're not delivering the results that you say you can deliver, right? And you're charging you're charging at this price point, but your skill and results are here. They're lower. That's where you get the imposter syndrome. Where I'm like, if you feel like you an imposter, reduce your damn prices and charge what you feel to be reasonable for your current skill set, right? And if you're on the lower skill level, give your service away for free for a short period of time to deliver value, to validate that you can deliver the value that you say you want to deliver, and then charge off the back of that. There's no imposter syndrome for that, right? So if you're doing this from an ads perspective, it means your sales cycle is going to be longer. You have to be willing to acquire a lead, right? And you can make the parameters for who you're going to be delivering your services to for free very tight. There has to be somebody who can actually afford to pay for your service if they like it and you're delivering results. So you don't have to give your service for free to any Joe Schmo, any bum off the street. You can go, if you have this type of business and you're in this niche and your business is at this level, I'm willing to work for you for free for the next 30 days to prove that I can deliver X results. And if you don't like it, you don't pay. You run that as an ad, you're going to get a bunch of qualified leads and you're going to get a bunch of garbage coming through the pipeline, but you get to choose who you're going to be servicing, right? You service them, you get the result for them, and then you charge them whatever the hell you want. So if you get them the results and it's better than you initially thought, charge in proportion to that, right? And I promise you, you're not going to feel like an imposter when you're charging someone an absorbent amount of money for the results that you're delivering, right? So that's kind of like the low skill side on that. Like if you're low skill, offer either offer it for free or offer it in proportion to the value that you actually deliver. And if you're charging more than what you believe you're worth, then charge what you believe you're worth, and the imposter syndrome is going to go away. Or get very good at the thing that you're doing to the point where you have just too much evidence to show that you're world-class at what you do. And then whatever that noise in the background is just going to get silenced because you just have too much evidence, right? If I've done the work and I've trained and I'm at a point where I can bench over 400 pounds, do I feel like an imposter for benching 400 pounds? Hell no. Because I've done the work to get there.
Right. And then not only that, but people can feel it. Meaning, if you're on a sales call and you're trying to charge 10K and you don't believe that, and that's what imposter syndrome, whatever, the other person on the other side of the call knows you're full of shit, right? They could feel that you don't even believe in your own product, that you should be selling it at that point, right? So not only that, you, like how you said, drop your prices, whatever, you feel more confident, you feel more energized, you feel more like, let's get this call going, excited to help you out. You feel different, right? Maybe you might feel like that at the beginning, but then when the price comes, your voice drops, like you don't feel as much excited. You don't even believe it, right? If you feel like that anywhere, then you don't believe in your product that it should be sold for that, or you don't believe you can actually get results based off that.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly. So on that side is just like, it becomes very clear. Like for me, there's no such thing as imposter syndrome. It's just, can you do the damn thing or can't you? Right. And do you believe that what you're charging for the value that you're delivering, do you really believe that it's fair? If you don't believe that it's fair, that's what's creating the imposter syndrome, right? I'm an absolute imposter if I've never benched a day in my life. I'm weak and I throw 4 plates on the bench and I try to lift it. right? If by some miracle I get it off the rack, I'm getting crushed. Like I am getting crushed.
You're
So
getting crushed, you're getting hurt, you're pulling something.
yeah, if
Something's
by
about to
some
happen.
miracle you can get it off the rack, you're getting crushed. So it's the same thing when it just people look at imposter syndrome as this abstract thing. It's like, no, have you done the work to justify being able to push the kind of weight that you want to push? Right? The answer is no. Reduce the weight. The answer is yes. Put on whatever weight you're confident you can push, and the results of doing the thing is going to eliminate that. So we went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I think it's necessary to share, because if you're going to start getting into the game of acquiring clients online, spending money on ads, growing your business, you have to understand like the basic principles of like why people do business with other people. Is because of the problem that's being solved, how the brand is being positioned, the messaging, the positioning, all that good stuff is really dialed in, right? And the value of what they're charging is justified, right? And so if you're doing that from a paid ads perspective, you're looking at the messaging, you're looking at the creative, you're doing 80% of the work, making sure the positioning, messaging, all that is tight. And then the rest of the work really, honestly, is like, even if I was to break it down, I'd honestly say it's like 10% targeting, right? And then like 20% messaging and creatives, and then 80% how you structure your funnel and the pixel data, right?
Yeah,
Like,
structure the funnel, and how you position the brand, and what is your message that you're presenting when they click off the ad there.
yeah, everything
I
has to be congruent. And it's like most of your work early on is going to be getting the machine set up correctly. And then, so the first, like, probably like the first 30 to 60 days is getting that dialed in. And then once that's dialed in and you validated, like, okay, I'm getting on the phone with the right prospects, people are buying, then 80% of your effort is on creative volume and expanding the creative volume and expanding, like making sure the messaging is optimized and you're iterating that, right? So in the beginning, it's like 10 targeting, 20 messaging and creative, and then like 80 like funnel structure and how you're doing, how the messaging is going to go through the entire funnel, segmenting the data, setting up the tracking, and all those good stuff. Is you're running traffic and validating those things are working the way that they need to. Then the rest of the energy, 80% of that is really going to be on the creative and messaging and positioning. And then the other 20% is just going to be split testing throughout the funnel and making sure those numbers are improving over time.
Yeah, because once you get the funnel right and you're talking to the right person and you're letting the right people through, bro, the ads are easy at that point. It is just like
Yeah.
pumping creatives on a left, right, and center, as long as it makes sense. Bro, your media buyer, you just gave them a F ton of help, right? Because I don't like it, but it's funny that you'll get a business owner, we're not getting enough leads and not this, that. It's like, dude, it's like, this thing is trash, right? It doesn't
Your
matter what I
messaging is
do.
garbage. The value proposition is horrible, and it's like it doesn't even make any sense. So it's like, what are we doing here, right? So on the other side, though, if your messaging is dialed in, the value proposition is dialed in, you can get away with a funnel. If your skill set isn't in the funnel, all you need to do is, how do I essentially deliver value to the prospect ahead of time before I try and get a sale, right? You can have really good messaging feeding a community funnel, right? Delivering value to the community and then monetizing on the back end. And the different ways that you deliver value could be like you deliver value via the VSL, via webinar, via free challenge, via community, via workshops, via ebooks, books, playbooks, mini courses. There's so YouTube videos, live videos, shorts. Like there's so many ways you can deliver value via emails, newsletters, blogs, right? Your skill set determines which way you're going to be delivering value. And then all you need to do is like have a machine that allows you to generate leads that want the thing that you do. And then you decide how you want to deliver value to those leads. And then that's going to inform how they get monetized on the back end.
Exactly. And then one thing I do see a lot of people mess up on is they try to compare themselves to somebody else that is way higher in the totem pole, right? They're like, well, I kind of want to be like them, and they're making so much money. And then, but when you look at them, and then you look at like themselves, you're like, it's two totally different brands. It's two totally different offers. It's two totally different messaging, right? It's like, it's not even the same. You might be in the same like industry or niche, maybe not niche, industry. And it's like completely different, right? They do all that because they're positioned that way, right? So you can maybe look at them, like how they do their funnels and all that, like how they position. Great, but don't try to be like them
You
because
gotta make sure it's congruent.
it needs to be congruent.
We gotta cut this short, but guys, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll kind of put it in a bow and serve it up to you. Creative, messaging, positioning, how you structure the funnel, deciding how you're going to be delivering value inside of the funnel, right? What is your method for delivering value to the prospect ahead of time, and then how you're going to be monetizing it, right? So at the beginning, charge what you believe you are worth in proportion to the value you deliver. Make sure you're only offering whatever you're doing to the people that stand to actually benefit from what you do. And then segment your funnel in a way where you're feeding your pixel the best possible data to inform the AI, right? So we can riff on this all day, but we gotta jet. If you find discussions like this helpful, leave us a comment, like, and share this with somebody who might benefit from it. Till next time, stay calm, change lives, and have business on your terms.
Peace.